Down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. And I'm just going to warn you guys ahead of time. I had a little bit of a flub up. The streaming software that I use has a additional program piece that does all of my all of my automation stuff. And unfortunately, it took a little bit of a crap earlier today and made me panic. So I had to go and set everything back up. So right now, I don't know what's going to happen with all of my special buttons and things like that. I think I got most of them put together. But yeah. So anyway, who knows what's going to happen? This is live broadcasting, of course, then just about anything can occur. For those of you that deal with the closed captioning, you'll notice right up here above me, I have a newer methodology for doing the closed captioning because the one that I was using, is going away. The person that was supporting it is no longer supporting it, and so it's going to go away at the end of October. And so I found a new methodology to do it, and hopefully that'll stick around for a while. All right, so tonight, let's go ahead and get started off here. I am drinking Buffalo Trace. Yes, Bonnie, I know that is not good whiskey. Maybe. I don't know. Good bourbon, I think she's what she what she put in the chat in the original setup. Anyway, so there I am. And tonight I am drinking it because this is Whiskey Wednesday. I am drinking it out of the True Grit Roots Network Rocks glass with my rocks in it. So there we go. So anyway, apparently that Buffalo Trace is acceptable to Bonnie. That's great. It's either Buffalo Trace or Four Roses. Those are her choices. That's what she likes. Anyway, I try to mix it up, a little bit in terms of what I'm drinking and everything. All right. So tonight, of course, is, let's hope this works. Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. All right. And so in the tradition of course, the fact that I have the TGRN glass, here we go. Let's talk about them real quick. So, TGRN Blues. 11 blues lovers have come together to create this dedicated 24/7 blues channel from the True Grit Roots Network. Join the Real Lady A, Gina Coleman from Misty Blues, Big Daddy Ray Hansen, Jeff Hayes, Holly Harris, Angela Easley, Vinnie Marini, Amber Burhill, Ray Brown, Memphis Mark, and of course, Jonathan Oogie Richards, as they share the blues every week with original first-run shows from the TGRN Blues channel. Show calendars and more information is available at tgrn.net. And by the way, if you are looking for us, so the app itself may or may not open, but you can always find us. And let me see if I can do this here. Got to remember where I put everything. You can always find us at the Live 365 website. So you can do that, or you can download the Live 365 app, and you can listen. So like right now, we're watching. This is what's last been played in the list here. And you can see we've got a bunch of little things, Blue Plate Special ad. We've got The Blues Ain't Going Nowhere by Rick Istron and the Night Cats. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Boy, that describes frickin' Joe Biden. By Albert Collins. The live version was played. So you can check it out. You can go to the Live 365 app, because that's actually, I think, a little bit more, I hate to say it, but a little bit more responsive than our individual app. But anyway, you can go there, or you can go to the website itself and you can listen. Right over here, there's this little thing right above my head where it's lighting up in purple. You can see it. And that is the play. It can play right out of your computer, or you can actually even go, if you really want to, you can go to your television and go to Live 365 on all kinds of smart TVs and listen to the True Grit Roots Network, TGRN Blues. Breaking boundaries for authentic roots radio to True Grit Roots Network, TGRN.net, Austin, Texas. And we've got some fantastic things coming up with TGRN Blues coming up in the very near future. We have a live that is going to happen on a Saturday from 11 to 5 p.m. Central Time coming up here in the next few weeks. So that is awesome. Okay. So let's go ahead. And of course, I got to let everybody know that I am part owner in that organization, in the True Grit Roots Network organization. Okay. So, tonight, I got to tell you, I'm actually really sort of surprised. I'm actually sort of surprised about the whole thing with regards to the New Mexico governor. Now, we talked about this on the last episode, and, she decided to go essentially full tyrant and essentially say that she was essentially going to suspend the Constitution of the United States. And let's just say the blowback is been, I'm actually kind of shocked. I mean, I would have thought that they would have just kind of, glossed over it, swept it under the rug, those kinds of things. But it turns out that the blowback is amazing. So let's first off, because of all that blowback, let me just go ahead and bring this up. This is from the Epoch Times. She has decided to double down rather than back off and say, you know what, I made a mistake. It was an emotional response, blah, 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 and try and cover it up. This from the Epoch Times. New Mexico governor defends emergency gun order as pushback grows. She is continuing to defend her decision to unilaterally ban people from carrying their firearms in public, whether open or concealed, in Albuquerque, as well as the surrounding Bernalillo County for 30 days. In her first interview, she told CNN This Morning that she decided to issue the executive order to temporarily suspend the ability to carry firearms in public in Bernalillo County as a means of addressing recent gun deaths in her state, including children. She said, quote, "We lost 143 children between 2017 and 2021. It is unacceptable, and it calls for immediate and swift, bold action." Okay. Well, yeah, okay, except there's only one problem, sweetheart, and that's called the U.S. Constitution. Although the U.S. Constitution right here is not a problem, folks. It's not a problem. It is the guiding document that we use on a regular basis in order to protect our God-given rights. And so, yeah, she decided to just kind of toss it aside. Now, it's kind of funny that the left was saying, when Donald Trump was talking about the Constitution and had had his words kind of taken out of context, which is nothing unusual with the left, but they went ahead and took his words out of context and said that he was anti-Constitution, even though he's not. They actually are anti-Constitution. They hate the Constitution, and they want it gone. And so here's what else she said in a Friday press conference when she was announcing the order. I think I actually talked about this on Saturday. She had said, no constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. Folks, that's what an oath is for. It is absolute. I took an oath to defend and support the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so this, this is a domestic enemy as far as I'm concerned. But I'm not the only one that's standing up, and a bunch of right-wing, what they consider right-wing, but a bunch of other people popping up are standing up to it too. In fact, let's see, what's the first one that I want to do? In fact, here you can see in this Fox News report, a New Mexico sheriff says he won't enforce the unconstitutional gun ban. He is protecting the Second Amendment. Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen calls the public health order banning issue, the issue of firearm permits, unconstitutional. Now, this is a constitutional sheriff from this step, okay? This is a good constitutional sheriff. And here's the thing with regards to this. You know, I mean, I talked about this. You can go back and look on my Rumble channels or even on YouTube. I think it's still up. With regards to constitutional sheriffs, the sheriffs in the counties are the highest elected law and order official. In fact, they even are higher in terms of the pecking order. They're actually higher than things like police chiefs and stuff like that, because police chiefs, and even state police chiefs are typically appointed, whereas the sheriff is elected. And the sheriff actually harkens all the way back to, being the Shire Reef. If you remember way back in the day when we haven't even like broken out, but this was way back in terms of the idea back in England. The Shire Reeve was, of course, the representative of the king, and so they had full powers that the king did. And so that's essentially, kind of where it comes from. Very, very short, brief conversation about that. But you can go out and check that other episode out where I talked about the constitutional sheriff and how sheriffs can actually stand up and say, no, I'm not going to do that. It's been held up in court by SCOTUS over the years. The most recent one was, I think, back in the 1994 assault weapons ban, also known as the Brady Bill, got passed. But anyway, so this is good. This is good. This guy probably just won re-election, to be honest with you. And this is a good thing. And the fact that he's actually standing up and essentially telling people, or telling the governor, no, I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. It is unconstitutional. He says it's unconstitutional and there's no way we can enforce that order, the sheriff said in a Monday news conference. This ban does nothing to curb gun violence. And this is true. This is exactly what, the left seems to think that if you take away guns, you're going to curb violence. You're not going to curb violence. You're just going to make it shift. I mean, London found that out. They took away all of their guns. And what happened? Well, knife deaths started going up. Deaths with blunt objects started going up. Deaths with, big trucks blowing up, terrorist attacks and things like that, used. All of that stuff went up because all that happens is the evil shifts in terms of how it is being done. You cannot get rid of evil and evil thinking people by trying to regulate them or legislate them to death by making up new laws. It does not happen, folks. It just does not happen. Well, he's not the only one. And this one, actually, to me, this one came as a surprise as well. Apparently, the New Mexico AG stated, and let's see, when was this? I think it was earlier today or maybe yesterday. But the New Mexico AG essentially said that he won't defend the governor in lawsuits. Now, for those of you that don't understand, the Arizona Attorney General acts as the de facto lawyer when it comes to lawsuits against the state. So anytime, or actually even up in the United States for the federal government, it's the same thing. You have a attorney general who has an office and has several lawyers on staff, and one of their things that they are supposed to do is they are supposed to defend the state or the administration against lawsuits. Well, this guy literally just said, yeah, I'm not going to do it. His quote here is, "My duty to uphold and defend the constitutional rights of every citizen takes precedence." This is, I know this seems a little weird, but this is a victory, folks. This is these two people in particular are extending the Americanism into today's news. And these folks are basically saying, hey, guess what, folks? This is not the case. This is not something that you can do. Now, several lawsuits have already been filed, and this is part of the reason why the New Mexico Attorney General said, you know what? Yeah, I'm not done. I'm done. I'm not doing it. He sent a letter to the New Mexico governor on Tuesday. So it was yesterday. And he basically said that his office would not be defending her administration in the lawsuits. And here's a quote from it. "I am writing to inform you that my office will not defend your administration in the above referenced cases challenging the public health emergency order imposing temporary firearm restrictions, drug monitoring, and other public safety measures," which he calls it, I guess, the 9th emergency order or something like that, the 9 THE. But anyway, issued by the Secretary of Health on September 8th of 2023, the letter stated. He says, "Though I recognize my statutory obligation as New Mexico's chief legal officer to defend state officials when they are sued in their official capacity, my duty to uphold and defend the constitutional rights of every citizen takes precedence." Torres, that's his name, explained that he was grieved with too many victims of gun violence as a career prosecutor in the state, and not to share your anger and frustration at the unacceptable toll that gun violence has enacted, especially among the youngest members of our community. However, he continues, "I encourage you to engage in a more thoughtful and deliberate process with members of the New Mexico legislature rather than taking unilateral action that infringes on the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens while having little, if any, discernible impact on the underlying dynamics driving gun violence in our community." So there's some local people that are doing this, but hey, guess what? This popped just before I came on the air. At least I saw it just before I came on the air. This is from Reuters. A U.S. judge has issued a temporary restraining order that is freezing the New Mexico governor's gun ban. Let's see. So a federal judge in New Mexico today issued a temporary restraining order against the state governor's ban on carrying guns in Albuquerque and its surrounding county, a move which threw the state into the center of the gun rights debate. U.S. District Court Judge David Arias said Governor Michelle Grisham's 30-day suspension of concealed and open firearm carry rights went against a landmark U.S. Supreme Court ruling in June that people had the right to carry a gun outside their homes for self-defense. They just want the right to carry their guns, Urias said of the several plaintiffs who requested the restraining order against the emergency public health order. The Democratic governor issued the suspension on firearm carry laws to essentially offer a cooling off period in which authorities could address solutions to the state's high rates of gun crime after several children were fatally shot. Gun control campaigners called the move courageous, and the Catholic Archbishop of Santa Fe feared more value was being given to gun rights than to the life of an 11-year-old boy shot dead last week in an apparent Albuquerque road rage incident. The thing about it is, folks, and I know there's a lot of people who are like, hey, you value your children. You value their life. You value what they are. And believe me, I have too. I value, all of them for that. But I can tell you this, at the same time, though, that isn't the cause. The cause is not the inanimate object, folks. The cause is the criminals who are holding that tool and are using it for nefarious purposes. And, as people have pointed out, like Tommy over here on Facebook says, criminals don't care about laws. Stop slapping their hands and turning them loose. Make them pay for whatever they've done. Exactly. It's time to stop, in the paraphrased words of Ronald Reagan, it's time to restore the American precept that the perpetrator is the cause and not, in the case of this, the gun. Okay. We need to go back to the idea that people need to be responsible and accountable, in particular, accountable for their actions. And we've got to stop coddling these folks and telling them, oh, it's okay. You didn't grow up with a father or a mother or either one or both. It's okay. We're going to let you go. No, They have to learn and stand up and live within the exact same societal rules and laws that we've put out. You can't just give these people carte blanche access to just go and do whatever they want and give them an excuse and then blame a tool. I'm not going to sit here and blame a spoon or a fork or a knife because I happen to be overweight. I'm the one who ate the damn food, okay? I'm the one that likes eating the ice cream and the cookies and all of that other stuff that I've been told multiple times I'm not supposed to necessarily engorge myself with. But at the same time, I have to take responsibility for that. If I want to lose weight, I'm going to have to exercise, cut my calories, start eating healthier, etc., etc. Running around and blaming the fork and the knife and the spoon is ridiculous. And that's exactly what they're doing. We don't go around and blame cars for car accidents, do we? No, it's the driver. And the punishment for the driver typically is either a loss of insurance or some type of monetary compensation for when they do something that they're not supposed to do. That's how we hold people accountable. You cannot sit here and blame the car for drunk driving. You blame the person who got behind the wheel. It's the exact same thing. You have an inanimate object, in this case, which is the car, and someone gets behind the wheel and drives that car, operates that car. It is no different than a gun. A gun has a trigger. A gun, that trigger has to be pulled. As we just found out about the whole Rust incident with, God, I'm trying to think of his name now. I can't think of his name. The guy, the trigger did get pulled on that gun. I can't think of it. But anyway. So yeah. So this, I mean, this is entirely a complete mess, for, you know, what's going on here. There's no reason. We didn't suspend the Constitution for, we didn't suspend the Constitution for the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak. So anyway. Yeah, so this is just ridiculous. The Constitution is absolute and anything within it can be changed, but as it's written today, it is absolute. It can be changed through the amendment process, but other than that, whatever's written in it at this point in time is absolute, based on what's going on. All right. So I want to take a moment, take a small break, and tell you about, since we're speaking about the Second Amendment and the Constitution, our wonderful Constitution of the United States right here. This is my offering. It is a Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution. Take a look at this. Rounded corners for nice, easy flipping. The pages are water-resistant, and check out that binding. It goes all the way through. They have a 100-year warranty on this product, basically for materials and defects in workmanship. If this thing falls apart, you can send it back to them and they'll either repair it or replace it for free. It is buddy tested and Billy the Kid tested, and it's even been tested by a scout to make sure that that they can pass their civics badge requirements with it. So do me a favor. If you want this sexy, rounded corner, leather-bound U.S. Constitution, head on over to constitution.whiskeymusings.online. That's constitution.whiskeymusings.online. And you will get dumped right to the page that I'm showing behind me. And you can pick up this leather-bound U.S. Constitution book for just a small, measly price of $19. It is a fantastic stocking stuffer. Think about all of the liberal heads that your family members that would have their liberal heads would explode if they found this in their stocking. Anyway, you can buy it in a single book form. You can buy it in packs of 24 books, 48 books, 96 books, and 192. Wow, that would cover a bunch of people. It is just a fantastic thing. The direct link for that is constitution.whiskeymusings.online. That's constitution.whiskeymusings.online. And you can go and check out that. Plus, take a look at the rest of the Institute on the Constitution. The rest in their store. You can look at all of their course materials. They've got clearance books. They've got all kinds of stuff here for you. So go ahead and check that out today. And I appreciate that because, of course, every item that you purchase by using my affiliate links, either IOTC.whiskeymusings.online or Constitution.whiskeymusings.online, and any of they give a little kickback because of my affiliation with them, and it helps to support the show. So thank you very much for that, and I thank them for allowing me to be an affiliate. All right. I don't know if anybody noticed, but we had a very somber, I almost wanted to say fantastic, but it's not fantastic. It has, I mean, it's an absolute horrible thing. But 22 years ago on Monday, we had the September 11th, anniversary. And, most of the time I would have memorialized it, but because it didn't fall on a Saturday, it was on a Monday. I sort of kind of let it slide this year. But I hope that everybody, took a few seconds to remember the 3,000 plus souls lost in New York City, the additional souls lost in that field in Pennsylvania, and so on and so forth. All of those people that have passed 22 years ago. But our illustrious leader, he really, really freaking, he really stuck his foot in it again. So what he did is, instead of going, as the tradition seemed to have been continued throughout the presidential ranks since that day, he did not memorialize it by going to one of the memorials. So, there's the memorial at the Pentagon, there's the memorial at in New York City where the Twin Towers stood, and there's the memorial in the Pennsylvania field where that plane went down. And basically all the presidents, with the exception of Obama and I think George W. Bush at one point, did not go to the to those sites once out of each of their presidencies. But what they did is they essentially memorialized it by giving some sort of a speech or whatever. Well, Biden took off and went to Alaska. And while he was up there, he, of course, because anytime there is a tragedy, this man has to make it about him. If you ever listen to him speak, he will go and manufacture stories in order to try and insert himself into the situation. Whether it's a tragedy with an individual, just like he did with all of the military members whenever he would go to visit the military members. I played that video a few episodes ago where he was, the one of the guys that came back from Afghanistan had his freaking arm blown off, and Joe Biden's trying to make it about his son, Beau, who didn't even die in the military. So anyway, the whole point about this is he goes and he fabricates stories to try and, show empathy, which we know he has none, but to show empathy for for the person going through whatever this is. He did the same thing in Maui, talking about, his kitchen burning down, which his kitchen didn't even burn down. It wasn't even that bad of a fire. It was out in 20 minutes, did very, in comparison, very little damage to the building itself versus, Maui being completely obliterated and having, no structures left in some areas. So anyway, he claimed, first of all, he claimed that he was at 9/11 the next day. That he had stood on the ground where the buildings fell. And of course, the sad thing about Joe Biden is that when he creates these things or makes these things up, it's really not that hard to figure out what the truth is. He was actually giving a speech, in Washington, D.C. the day after. And the other thing that happened is in defense. So let me go ahead and bring this up. Of course, his spin doctors in the White House go ahead and make up some stories as well to try and prove that, hey, everything's okay. Joe Biden's actually all right. It's not a big deal. So here from the Washington Examiner, White House makes erroneous claim justifying Biden's 9/11 memorial snub. Now, what is their claim? Well, their claim is that other presidents haven't visited historical memorials 22 years later, when in actuality, that really turns out that it is, in particular, they were talking about Pearl Harbor. They were saying, well, the president didn't go and visit Pearl Harbor 22 years later. Presidents aren't, visiting Hawaii after Pearl Harbor. Well, that's actually a factual error, because President JFK, John F. Kennedy, visited the USS Arizona Memorial 22 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1963 and actually laid a wreath to commemorate those who perished on that infamous day. So yeah, there, and here's the photo. It was put out by the JFK Library. Yeah, so, and they, of course they put it on X or Twitter, but here's the photo of him being there and laying the wreath at the Arizona Memorial. So once again, Biden lied. Shouldn't be, this shouldn't even really be a surprise to anybody anymore. At all, realistically. And apparently in, let's see. So apparently he also gave remarks last year at the Pentagon. This is Biden, of course. And in 2021, a year earlier, the president and first lady visited all three of the attack sites in Manhattan, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and Arlington, Virginia. So, like I was saying before, every year after 9/11, the commander-in-chief has visited at least one of the attack sites to participate in a memorial, the only exception being when then-presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama each spent one anniversary delivering remarks from the White House. So yeah, here's his remark. Biden's quote: "Ground Zero in New York. I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building, and I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because of the way from where you could stand. And it's a factual error because records actually show that he was in Washington, D.C. giving a speech and did not visit Ground Zero until September 20th, 2001, 9 days after the attack." So once again, Joe Biden is lying. Well, this doesn't really surprise anyone, especially not his team. According to the Daily Caller, the Biden comms team is forced to do cleanup yet again as unforced errors pile up. Unforced errors. Okay, the White House communications team has been forced to play defense over the last several weeks as the president continues to come under public scrutiny for apparent gaffes and slip-ups. It's not apparent. They are gaffes and slip-ups. Yeah, he claimed it. So during the remarks that he had, like I said, he claimed to visit Ground Zero. Anyway, it's not the only thing. A day prior, apparently, a Biden staffer rushed to cut the president off during a press conference in Vietnam after Biden gave a rambling response to a reporter's question. And here's the quote. I'm sure everybody's heard it by now, but I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed. The staffer is heard saying off screen, "Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference." Oh, he also did the gaffe. I called it out when he wandered out of the Medal of Honor presentation ceremony on September 5th. And yeah, so I mean, this guy's not there. He just isn't. I'm sorry. He's not there. And they expect us to believe that this guy has enough energy and has enough wherewithal to be able to handle another 4 years? Give me a break. Give me a break. Okay. Well, there's some new development. I don't know if anybody's heard. I'm not. Okay. Cautiously optimistic. Always cautiously optimistic. But McCarthy has said that here's the rules with the impeachment inquiry. And he talked about it to the House Republicans, of course, because he's the Speaker of the House. And this was, I think, in a letter. Yeah, in a letter Tuesday, McCarthy said the inquiry will be led by Chairman James Comer of the Oversight and Accountability Committee, in coordination with Chairman Jim Jordan of the Judiciary Committee and Chairman Jason Smith of the Ways and Means Committee. Through our investigations, he wrote, we have found that President Biden lied to the American people about knowledge of his family's foreign business dealings. Eyewitness testimony revealed that the president joined multiple phone calls and had various interactions with his son's business partners. McCarthy cited the testimony of Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, who said that Joe Biden spoke or met with Hunter's business associates around 20 times, and that he, after meeting with President Biden, foreign nationals sent Hunter Biden millions of dollars and even bought him a Porsche. Let's see. The House Speaker continued and said, bank records show nearly $20 million in payments were directed to Biden family members and associates through numerous shell companies. Noted the House Speaker, the Treasury Department has more than 150 transactions involving the Biden family and their business associates that were flagged as suspicious activity by U.S. banks. Those are those suspicious activity reports. They're known as SARS, S-A-R. Anyway, so there's also a trusted FBI informant that provided information about the alleged bribes to the Biden family. That's that FBI 1024 form, I think. But anyway, there is also evidence that Biden used his official office to coordinate with Hunter Biden's business partners about Hunter's role in Burisma, which was the Ukrainian energy company. McCarthy also expressed concern over the Department of Justice's handling of the affair, which included a sweetheart plea deal that had to be stopped by a federal judge. And by the way, just as a side note, I was reading an article, I think it was earlier Monday or yesterday, where Joe Biden apparently went into, not that I want anybody to go into this kind of depression, but he apparently went into sort of a deep depression when they found that out. When they found out that the sweetheart plea deal was falling apart. So, yeah, again, this is exploding. It is growing and growing and growing. Now, do I really think that anything is going to happen? I don't know. Right now, I'm sort of in the camp where I'm not quite sure. I don't think anything legal is going to occur with this, but this could potentially lead to a possibility of a impeachment. Now, is it really going to matter? Well, considering it's 2023, almost 2024 in a few months, and the election is in 2024, I don't know. But I hope and pray that something definitely is going to be done. But, of course, the spin doctors of the mainstream media and the left are out there. Here, reported in Town Hall, there's been a narrative shift on Joe Biden's business dealings. So the narrative shift now is not so much that he, let's see, where is this? Not so much that he is, Joe Biden himself has lied for years about never speaking to Hunter about any business deals, which we know is a lie. A few months ago, the White House press secretary said that Joe Biden was never in business with his son. Now, Democrats and their allies are, surprise, surprise, attempting to change the definition of the word evidence. Kind of like what they did with the definition of the word vaccine, that the CDC went ahead and changed on their website. So they just, I can tell you that when the impeachment inquiry was announced today, I didn't really respond, but I did see, X was just like floored with people saying, oh, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. There's no evidence. In fact, as if on cue, here comes Jamie Raskin. This article in the Daily Fetched. Raskin claims no evidence Biden committed treason, bribery, or high crimes. Yeah, he did. I'm sorry, but Jamie, you're wrong. You're completely wrong. Apparently he claimed on CNN's Anderson Cooper 360 that there is no evidence of treason, bribery, or high crimes and misdemeanors, which if anyone who has a copy of this fabulous, wonderful document known as the Constitution of the United States knows that those are the three things that can get somebody barred from coming back and can also get somebody impeached. So He apparently claimed, again on Anderson Cooper's 360, that he called the impeachment inquiry against Biden ridiculous. I mean, here, this is his quote now. I mean, you've got people who voted not to impeach Donald Trump for inciting a violent insurrection against the Union, either because they didn't think that that's a crime, or they didn't think the evidence was there, even though the evidence was overwhelming. Bullshit. Sorry. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. Jamie, buddy, I'm just telling you right now. Okay. I'm telling you right now, there is overwhelming evidence. There's overwhelming evidence. And it's far more than you could ever scrape up against Trump in the 2 impeachments. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. You're just wrong. You're just flat out wrong, dude. As usual, you are flat out wrong. Jamie Raskin continued, we did have 10 Republicans who joined us in the House, and 7 Republicans who voted to convict in the Senate. Well, no shit. Those are rhinos. Anyway, Jamie Raskin says, in any event, you've got the Republicans who cannot bring themselves to impeach Donald Trump, who tried to overthrow a presidential election. No, he didn't. And attacked our constitutional order. Not really. Now moving to impeach Joe Biden for reasons unstated. So I think that's absurd, he said. Well, you know what, Jamie? Let me just read to you what's been stacked up. This post from Dan Bongino, which, by the way, I saved and I bring back up on X all the time. He basically says, the Democrats are correct. Outside of the bank records, suspicious activity reports, the wire transfers, the private bank transactions, the LLCs, the texts, the emails, the WhatsApp messages, the photos of Joe with Hunter's business partners, the voicemails to his son, the 2 business partners saying Joe is the, quote, brand, the big guy, and the chairman, the 2 whistleblowers' testimony, the recorded phone calls between Biden and Poroshenko, the video of Joe Biden bragging about firing the Ukrainian prosecutor, and Hunter's statements that he is giving his dad half of his income. You're right, guys. There is 0 evidence of Joe Biden being involved. Oh, God, these guys. I'm just telling you. These guys are hilarious. I can't even understand how you can be this stupid. I really can't. I mean, they had less on Nixon. Okay. They had a tangential connection. Nixon wasn't even proven to have known about the whole thing with the Democrat, criminality, the trying to break into the Democrat national headquarters in the Watergate building. They weren't even sure that he knew about it. And yet, here they are. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. These people. I'm telling you, these people are just freaking, oh my God. And just in case there was any doubt as to whether or not Joe and Hunter, whether their relationship is strained through all of this or anything else, here's a Breitbart article quoting a New York Times report that Hunter Biden informally advises Joe Biden. Now, you'll recall that Joe Biden said that Hunter Biden is the smartest man he knows. That's not really saying much there, Joe. Anyway, Hunter Biden is reportedly an informal advisor to the president amid an impeachment inquiry into the president. Hunter and Joe frequently speak on the phone and occasionally talk politics, according to the New York Times, which describes Hunter Biden as the president's informal advisor who has even shaped Joe's speeches. Oh, so that's why he gets so freaking confused. Huh. Okay, so apparently Hunter, in a coke-filled delusion, goes and writes these speeches, maybe. I'm kidding. I don't know this. but it sure sounds like it when Mumbles gets up there and has this fight with the teleprompter. Anyway, the Times reported further, people who know both men say their bond is singular in its intensity, but even allies of President Biden, who prides himself on his political and human instincts. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I almost threw up in my mouth there. Ooh, I gotta wash my mouth out. That was horrible. Oh, that was bad. Back to the piece. Says he has at times been too deferential to the younger son, appearing unwilling to tell him no, despite Hunter's problems and his long trail of bad decisions. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. And as 3 Chevy points out, boy, they talk about the weather a lot, especially with their business partners. Oh, being the smartest guy Joe knows, and they talk about the weather. I don't know if that's something that I mean, hey, if I knew somebody that was extremely smart, I would want to talk with them about anything but the weather. Unless, of course, I was talking to an actual weather scientist or meteorologist who could give me the lowdown on how to figure out what the weather is going to do. But, of course, they're wrong most of the time anyway. So, yeah, I don't think that's very effective. Oh, all right. All right. I got to take a second. I got to take a quick second here before I get into my next segment. I want to tell you about getting logo and mottoed gear. This is just fabulous. You have got to head off to store.whiskeymusings.online. That's store.whiskeymusings.online and check out all of the logo and mottoed gear that I have available. It's going to get colder, folks. It's starting to get chillier here in the mornings. We're starting to move from summer into fall, at least up here in the Northwest. And so you might want to get a logoed hoodie or sweatshirt. You also might want to enjoy that frothy beverage that you drink from a motto drinkware and point out to everybody that when you drink, you think just like I do. You also might want to do it for your morning coffee as well. Or you might want to set yourself up for summertime and get yourself ready for the tank top era. Get that bod back into shape. Doing that exercising that you're supposed to be doing. Anyway, head on over to store.whiskeymusings.online. That's store.whiskeymusings.online and check out all of the products that are available there today. And of course, I would appreciate it. Hey, ladies, there's sports bras there. And then you can also do it. You've got backpacks, bags, duffel bags. There's sweatpants. Of course, it's No Pants Wednesday, so none of that really matters. But yeah, check it out today. Go to store.whiskeymusings.online. I do appreciate it. And that is just fantastic. Yes. Of my logo. All right. Before we get into some of the rest of the articles that I have, I would absolutely love to do a pet of the week. I would love to do a pet of the week, but you know what? Nobody submitted one. Come on, folks, you're falling down here. So I am going to dig really, really deep into the files. And so tonight for the pet of the week, which, by the way, let me see if I can light that off here. There we go. Tonight for the pet of the week, I'm going to go ahead and show you or demonstrate for you. Oops, hang on. Bad. Here we go. This is 3 Chevys koi in a pond, and he's feeding them. So let's watch this wonderful feeding time at the koi pond for the 3 Chevy house. He's tossing. Look at those fish go. Look at those fish go. All right. So there we go. check out those fish getting that food, eating, and enjoying. You know, I've got to admit, I'm pretty impressed. Here, I'm going to play it again here, only because I'm pretty impressed. Look at the clarity on that thing, on that pond. Look at the clarity on that pond. I'm shocked. You can actually see deep into it, even though it's got a little green kind of around, you know, because obviously everybody's doing the green. But yeah, look at that. Look at that clarity on that pond. I'm telling you, I'm impressed. I am really impressed. See, around here, 3 Chevy, we'd probably have raccoons, maybe possums, and definitely coyotes that might come by and try to take them. But anyway, yeah, just look at that. Look at the clarity of that. That is impressive. I am impressed. Color me impressed. Thank you very much. Hey, if you want your pet to be featured on my Pet of the Week segment Wednesday nights, you can do so by sending me a picture of your pet and any kind of information that you have, name, breed, if you know, story about them or whatever. Send it off to fans@whiskeymusings.online. That's FANS at whiskeymusings.online. And I would love to feature your pet. And in fact, after I feature your pet, Outlaw Dogs, who is over on Rumble, she has a shorts. And I'm not talking about clothing shorts, but she has a channel on Rumble where she grabs things like the Pet of the Week, and she'll feature them on her episodes of A Sip of Whiskey, where she does that, and that is just absolutely awesome. Yeah, Murphy's Law over on Rumble. Absolutely. Send me a video having your parrot drinking beer and cussing. I had a little cockatiel at one point that loved to drink beer. And send them all. Send everything. Send them all. Even if it's something new, even if we've seen the animal before, but it's something new about the animal, send them on in. I love that. It is a fan favorite, and I really like to be able to feature your pets here on the Pet of the Week. So once again, send them off to fans@whiskeymusings.online. That's fans@whiskeymusings.online. And by the way, if you have a question for Whiskey for Saturday night's segment, you can send a question to that same email address. And I know Outlaw Dogs is running around hitting all of the, or at least a couple that I see, of the social medias with that information as well. All right. So let's head back into the show. All right. So Joe Biden, rather than memorialize 9/11 properly by going to one of the memorials and actually giving a speech and everything there, Joe decided to announce. Oh, this is sad. This is so sad. I mean, it's so bad. It's so sad. I'm sorry, but this guy has literally no foreign policy. He's been wrong on foreign policy his entire career. Every single thing that he does, he is wrong on in terms of foreign policy. I mean, even like the whole bin Laden thing, which shouldn't have even been a question at all. With this, with us taking out bin Laden, he even questioned that. He said, "Oh, do we really want to do this?" or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but the point here being in the fact that, I cannot imagine where this guy thinks that he is the most intelligent, most wide, well-versed, foreign policy guy ever. But anyway, he decided on 9/11. This is horrible optics. I'm sorry, folks, but this is really horrible optics. He decided on 9/11 that he is going to pay Iran $6 billion. Yes, that's $6 billion with a B, $billion for 5 prisoners. This in Breitbart, let me just say, but the Biden administration has reportedly approved a deal with Iran to pay the rogue regime $6 billion in exchange for 5 detained American citizens. Okay, so let me explain something to you. Iran has had money problems. They have had issues with, keeping up with paying their bills and things like that. He actually, up until this point, he actually has, had, let's say, that the American government had Iran on the ropes. This guy goes ahead and makes as much as I feel for those 5 Americans, I really, really do. But this is crazy, because what he has essentially done is he's basically handed them essentially a $6 billion check to do whatever it is that they want. Now, according to the deal, the deal, according to the Associated Press, entailed the Biden administration issuing a blanket waiver for international banks to transfer $6 billion in frozen Iranian money from South Korea to Qatar without any U.S. sanctions. The money will be held in Qatar's central bank for Iran to use, reportedly for the purchase of humanitarian goods. Now, I say reportedly because we all know that's not where this money is going. If anything, the Iranian regime and the mullahs over there are not known for keeping their word. This has been shown multiple times in the nuclear deals and things like that we've had. And yes, according to several people over on Rumble, that is $6 billion more than what Hawaii has gotten. Now, keep in mind, okay, this is seized money. So this is not necessarily, this isn't U.S. money. Okay. This is seized assets prior to, prior to Obama, that the U.S. has been holding in, in, I don't know if I want to call it abstentia, but basically holding that Iran already had. It's basically as though, the IRS came in and like seized your bank account, for an example. It's essentially that kind of scenario. Now, Iran, of course, one of the mullahs basically said, yeah, we're not, you give us this money. We're going to go ahead and use it for whatever we want. You don't need to tell us what we can and cannot use this money for. So anyway, so in addition, the Biden administration agreed to release 5 Iranian citizens that were held in the U.S. as well. According to the AP, Secretary of State Anthony, I keep saying Anthony, it's Antony, Anthony, no H, signed off on the deal late last week, but Congress was not notified of the deal until Monday, which was also 9/11, the 22nd anniversary of the U.S. Suffering the terrorist attacks by Islamic fundamentalists. Okay. The deal appears to go against U.S. policy not paying countries to release American prisoners so as to not incentivize the behavior. Now, for those of you that don't know, America has had a continuing policy of not negotiating with terrorists. We don't like to do it because whenever you do, guess what? It encourages people to capture Americans abroad. If you prevent people, by whatever means, from gaining anything by taking Americans, then you end up with taking away the incentive for those people to actually go and try and capture Americans. This is part of the reason why doing things like with Russia, when Russia picked up what's her name, Brittany Griner, okay. We're not supposed to negotiate with them because if we do, we're essentially demonstrating weakness. to be honest with you. So anyway, I mean, this deal is just absolutely horrible. Once again, he demonstrates how little foreign policy experience his correct foreign policy experience. But apparently, according to the report, the transfer of the $6 billion was a critical element in the prisoner release deal. Some European nations reportedly balked at participating in the transfer, but the Biden administration's blanket waiver was aimed at easing their concerns. The AP noted, which, by the way, the AP is a left-leaning organization. They're going to sugarcoat this freaking thing as much as they can. The AP noted the waiver is likely to draw criticism of President Joe Biden from Republicans and others that the deal will boost the Iranian economy at a time when Iran poses a growing threat to U.S. troops and Mideast allies. Maybe Mideast allies like the Israelis? Anyway. Bad foreign policy. This guy just cannot make a good decision. And look at this picture. Oh my God. That is probably one of the worst freaking, well, I won't say one of the worst. It's close. I've seen some bad salutes in my day, but this pretty poor. This is like, he's not even trying. He's just like, I'm just going to touch my head. I'm just going to touch my head. Just for the hell of it. This guy is just, he's a disgrace. I'm so disgusted with this man. Well, if Iran doesn't start something with that $6 billion, well, according to the Air Force Secretary, this in the Washington Free Beacon, folks, Air Force Secretary says intel couldn't be clearer. China is preparing for war with the U.S. We're just now figuring this out. Hello. We've been talking about this for years. Well, not for years. Well, I mean, okay, let's be honest. China has been preparing for war for multiple years. We're just now getting an inkling of the fact that it's coming. And, again, as you can see right here next to related posts on the left here, I'm going to kind of highlight in red. Bing, bing, bing. Taiwan says that 28 Chinese Air Force planes enter their defense zone. Like they haven't done this before. All right. So we have the Air Force Secretary, Frank Kendall, said in a Monday speech that China is preparing for war with the United States. Ya think? His quote here, he was given a speech at the Air and Space Forces Association's Air, Space, and Cyber Conference. And he said, quote, "Today, the intelligence couldn't be clearer. Whatever its actual intentions may be, I could not say. But China is preparing for a war, and specifically for a war with the United States." He went on to say that China, for the last 2 decades, has been re-optimizing its forces to compete with the United States in the Western Pacific. Yeah, I think I've told you about that on this program quite often. The Air Force Secretary's comments come in the wake of President Joe Biden's Vietnam visit, during which the president said that China's economic problems make the country less likely to invade Taiwan, which is bull crap, folks. This is exactly why they are going to invade. They have to take over Taiwan in order to be able to recoup some of their economic losses that they've got going on. Taiwan is, and I've covered this multiple times. I'm just going to go ahead and do it again and again and again here. But Taiwan handles 90% of the chips in the world today. Okay. All of our silicon chips that are part of our phones, our computers, everything that I've got going on right now, chances are something's got a Taiwan inspired or Taiwan manufactured chip in it. Every electronic device, that includes things like cars, computers, even our military forces. Okay. These these people don't seem to get the fact that if Taiwan falls, we're in trouble. The whole world is in trouble. Because if China takes that over, you don't think that China puts spyware into their chips? Why do you think China's, God, I can't even think of their freaking, I can't think of I'm drawing a blank here. But anyway, their telecommunications company, Huawei, that's it. Huawei, the telecommunications company, okay, they freaking have put in spyware inside their actual products on the chip. It's called software on chip. And there's just no way. There's just no way that they are not going to invade Taiwan. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon. My guess is probably before the 2024 elections, because both Taiwan and America have elections in November. My guess is that it's probably going to happen right before the elections or potentially right after, when things are in flux, because that will be a perfect place, a perfect time for them to go ahead and make those attacks. Now, let's see. So a Republican congressman, Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, said Monday that China's internal problems could cause China's President Xi Jinping to become even more aggressive. That's exactly true. I mean, I've gone through this on this program before. You can go back and take a look. The Chinese economy is failing. They put a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of retirement money into real estate. They can't even sell the real estate. They can't get enough people to actually take over the high-rise buildings that are designed for people to live in. They're, huge communities that they put all this money into, and they have nobody who is interested in buying them. They're one of their real estate companies, and the name's escaping me at the moment, but one of their real estate companies is going bankrupt. It filed for bankruptcy. It's all over. It is all over the news. The only way to recover someone or some country's economy is to get a wartime footing going. That's what the United States did. Every time you go to war, believe it or not, it kicks off an economy boom. Because what ends up happening is, instead of consumers driving the economy, they go ahead and push for, government to take over and everything else. And the products and services that are created are to support the wartime effort. And it becomes, money, money, money all the time. So yeah, this is just ridiculous. In fact, according to the piece, Xi told the Chinese military last month to speed up its modernization and combat readiness following several months of intensified military exercises. Numerous war games over the past several years have reportedly shown that the U.S. military is completely unprepared for war with China. And folks, I'm going to be completely honest with you. We have been handing stuff over to Ukraine. We haven't been replacing our stockpiles. Our military recruitment numbers are low across the board. The board. In fact, I even was reading an article. I debated putting it up here, but apparently the Air Force has already admitted that they are not going to meet their recruitment goals by the end of this year. So, yeah. So, we are in a sad state of affairs, folks, but that doesn't mean that we need to give up hope. It really doesn't mean that we need to give up hope. Okay. In fact, in terms of the entire impeachment, probe, there are some good things. Now, as you notice, just to kind of swing this up a little bit, there are some good things that are coming out. So, for an example, Representative Comer, according to the Epoch Times, let me show you this. Representative Comer doesn't rule out the subpoena of President Biden in the impeachment inquiry. Now, this, I got to tell you, this would be fantastic. Fantastic. I would love to see this. I mean, they tried to get Trump, and Trump, was able to avoid it, but I think this would be awesome. This would be awesome. Okay. The House impeachment inquiry, according to Comer, into President Biden will go wherever the money leads us, even if that means subpoenaing the president. Anything's possible, but right now we're following the money. Mr. Comer told the Epoch Times on September 13th when asked if he would consider that a possibility. The Republican who chairs the House Oversight and Accountability Committee was tapped by Speaker Kevin McCarthy to help steer the impeachment investigation alongside the Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and the Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith. Mr. Comer and his committee have conducted a months-long investigation into the Biden family foreign business dealings. The probe turned up bank records, revealing at least $20 million in payments that was channeled through at least 20 shell companies to members of the Biden family, as well as their business associates. The payments were sourced from countries such as Russia, China, Ukraine, and Romania. Seriously, this is just, it's just crazy. And of course, House Democrat leadership is, denying it, saying that, this guy, oh my gosh, this guy, Jeffries, he's probably one of the biggest idiots I think I've seen on Capitol Hill, right up there with AOC and a few others. But anyway, so since this has been launched, of course, okay, the Senate has to ring in. And so here, Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican from Alabama, and other GOP senators have voiced skepticism about the House Republican impeachment effort against Joe Biden. Tuberville says House GOP must not waste time with the Biden impeachment. Now, what is he talking about? Well, he is saying that the House Republicans must not waste time and deliver an ironclad case to impeach President Biden for the effort to succeed in the Senate. So in other words, they have to, the House Republicans have to deliver very convincing argument for the Senate to actually try and remove Joe Biden. Tuberville on Tuesday joined a growing chorus of Republican senators who are skeptical of the House GOP impeachment query. He said that the Senate couldn't get the votes to convict Biden in an impeachment trial, but hoped the House at least would get to the truth concerning the abuse of power and corruption allegations made against the president. Tuberville said on NBC's Meet the Press Now, "You don't bring a vote to the floor unless you are pretty sure you can get the amount of votes you need. I know that wouldn't make it anywhere over here in the Senate. That probably wouldn't even let it make it to the floor. But again, this is all up to the House. We've got enough problems going on right now." I honestly don't know what this guy's politics is. But yeah, he doesn't sound like a staunch Republican in my mind. Anyway. All right. Let's see. What do I have here? Oh, so really, really bad segue here, but so in terms of Biden policies, one of the policies that Biden has had, and I've been very critical of, which is completely honest and forthright, but is the whole idea of scrapping gasoline engines and other fossil fuel engines for electrical. And the electrical, our infrastructure just isn't built for it. It's not built for it. It's not prepared. We don't have anything ready. So this fallacy idea of being able to go with a majority of our transportation vehicles being electrical is pretty far-fetched. And it's realistically going to be very difficult to achieve. Now, that being said, Biden's energy secretary and what is Secretary Jennifer Granholm found out the hard way how bad our electrical situation is when it comes to using electrical vehicles. Now, there was one, I don't think I got to it actually in the episode, but there was a article that I did link in the show notes in a past episode that was talking about how a person took an electric car. They rented an electric car and drove from, I believe it was like Michigan to Ohio or through Ohio, something like that. And they essentially went through and like explained their experience and how bad it actually was. Well, Senator Granholm apparently had a trip. Now, this is from the Washington Examiner. I've seen other articles about this, but apparently a trip through Georgia. And while she was in Georgia or on her way through Georgia, the lead cars, which, by the way, she had like lead cars that were gasoline powered. Okay. So it wasn't like everything in her entourage was electrical. She actually sent or had gasoline powered engines and gasoline powered cars and trucks to go ahead and make sure that, you know, things were okay, to scout out electrical places. And according to a report, a Georgia family called the police on her entourage after an electric vehicle charging station was blocked by one of her gas-powered cars, which had been parked by a staff member of the Department of Energy. The event occurred during a 4-day road trip that Granholm was taking to demonstrate the effectiveness of electric vehicles. During the trip, the group's caravan was going to charge up at a suburb of Augusta, Georgia. But due to a lack of charging stations needed for all of their vehicles, a staff member with the group parked a non-electric vehicle by one of the chargers to make sure to reserve a spot. Shortly after, a family with a baby was planning to charge their vehicle but could not due to the non-electric vehicle blocking the charger, leading them to call the police. However, it is not illegal, apparently, in Georgia for non-electric vehicles to park at EV charging stations, meaning that the police could not do anything about the situation. The Energy Department staff were eventually able to work things out after they sent other vehicles to slower chargers to allow the family to charge their vehicle. John Ryan, who is a driver of an electric BMW, who was also waiting at the time, it's just par for the course, he said. They'll get it together at some point. Yeah. Granholm's road trip comes as the Biden administration pushes for electric vehicles in the auto industry, with the Energy Department announcing last month that it would be allocating $2 billion in grants and $10 billion in loans to support automakers and parts suppliers. This allocation would be for automakers to retrofit their existing facilities and expand the production of electric vehicles and their components. Okay. In August, apparently, Ford CEO Jim Farley said that he received a reality check when he tried to charge his electric vehicle during a road trip he took himself. When charging his vehicle, he said his car was only charged to 40% during the 40 minutes that he charged it, according to a video he posted to X, formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, so here's the thing. There have been so many stories like this that have come out. And so many of these. Look, I'm not against electric vehicles. I think, I've said it on this program and I'll say it again. I honestly believe that the balance, we need to strike a balance. We can't just give up one for another. But here in my state, Governor Idiot has pushed for electric buses, has pushed for electric cars. And what he doesn't seem to understand is that a lot of the taxes on our gasoline, which is supposed to go to road maintenance, come from gasoline-powered vehicles. So if we were to completely switch over to electric vehicles, the wear and tear on the roads is actually still very similar, even with electric vehicles. So where is all those taxes going to come from? You also have problems when you have things like, as you've seen in Florida, thank you, Tommy, for pointing this out, electric vehicle owners in Florida found out the hard way what happens when saltwater storm surge happens and their cars are in the path. Not pretty. There's been several videos and things like that shown and pictures shown of cars that have caught on fire because of the storm surge and the saltwater intrusion into the batteries. Again, as much as these electric vehicles are kind of novel and they're sort of cool. I mean, I know some people that have them here in the Northwest. They're not necessarily practically applicable when you're looking at things like long-term road trips, where you do not have the support infrastructure for this, or you have places like in California where they literally can't support the electrical grid to be able to charge your vehicle at night or even run like AC, because electric vehicle chargers actually pull more power than a standard AC unit. So this is a fallacy. This is a pipe dream. I don't know why these people are like really, really focused on this. But they seem to want to keep pushing this pipe dream and make it to where it's just even more and more difficult for gasoline powered. I mean, I understand we're trying to like save the environment, but even that is a fallacy. Climate change, let me rephrase that. Human driven climate change is not settled science, regardless of what the mainstream media tells you. It's not even close to settled science. Nobody even knows for sure what's going to happen in 100 years or more, like they keep trying to tell us about with all of those freaking models that they put out. This is just chasing after pipe dreams, honestly. All right. Last article, really, really quickly, only because, Joe Biden keeps talking about his economy and everything else. How he's like touting Bidenomics and so on and so forth. Well, apparently the Census Bureau put out a report that, and this is according to Just the News, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program, our income dropped and poverty actually soared under Biden. Inflation, of course, was at soared 7.8% from 2021 to 2022, making it the largest single year increase in the cost of living since 1981. Okay. But despite the Biden administration, so this is from the piece, despite the Biden administration's effort to tout the alleged successes of Bidenomics, a report from the United States Census Bureau has revealed that many Americans saw their economic situation deteriorate dramatically in the first half of Biden's term. While the official poverty rate hovered around 11.5% in both 21 and 22, according to the report, the supplemental poverty measure, SPM, increased from 4.6% in 2022 to reach 12.4%, marking the first overall increase in that metric since 2010. In total, 37.9 million, almost 38 million Americans lived in poverty in 2022. The report partially attributed the increase to the expiration of tax credits and pandemic stimulus payments. Income, meanwhile, and here's another thing, they keep talking about how wages are up, income is up, so on and so forth. Well, listen to this. Income, meanwhile, dropped across a full array of metrics. Real median income, household income, declined by 2.3% from 76,330 to 74,580, while real median earnings of all workers dropped 2.2%. The drop was less severe among full-time year-round workers, who saw a 1.3% decline. Inflation soared 7.8% from 2021 to 2022, marking the largest single-year increase in the cost of living since 1981. The Census Bureau statement follows some other bad Economic news for the president. Unemployment rate in August rose from 3.5 to 3.8%, while inflation actually ticked up from 3.2%, marking the first increase after a consistent year-long decline. Well, it's not hard to decline from 40-year highs. Anyway, Biden has repeatedly insisted that economic conditions are improving in the United States and has consistently attributed the nominal upswing to his policies. Americans, however, appear skeptical at that assertion. No kidding. Yes, we are skeptical. 37.8% approve of his handling of the economy, according to a Real Clear Politics polling average, compared with almost 59%, 58.9%. who disapprove. So yeah, once again, the economy is shite. Our president is shite, and we are honestly maybe heading off to war. But hey, you know what? We still have patriots out there. We still have patriots out there. All right, that is my final Whiskey Musings thought of the evening. Do me a favor. If you like the program, head on over to Rumble. Rumble is my chosen platform of choice. Head on over to Rumble and sign up for an account. It's free. And when you do, find the Whiskey Musings Broadcast channel and hit the green follow button. Not that I don't like my Facebook and YouTube people, but you never know. Those communist-driven organizations might kick me off at any time. So you'll always be able to find me on Rumble. And hey, check me out Saturday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for the next Whiskey Musings broadcast. You have a great rest of your week, and we will see you all Saturday. Good night, everybody.
The Whiskey Musings broadcast is produced by Active Eye Media, LLC. All rights reserved.